very essential mimer, and this mimer is so essential in Chassidus that there's a whole pamphlet that the Rebbe Rashab wrote just to explain this mimer. There's a lot of mamorim that explain this mimer. So even though this mimer talks about deep Kabbalistic concepts, we're going to try to bring it down to make it more simple, and we could call the theme of our weekly Chassidus, does God really care? Now, when I told David that we're going to talk, does God really care? So he said right away, he has an answer. For sure, God cares. If God doesn't care, what's the whole point?
No, I'm more like, that's what I've been taught.
Yeah, this is what I've been taught. Why am I sitting in yeshiva? Why am I putting on tefillin? Why am I eating kosher if God doesn't care? But this has a major, this answer is very problematic. Why is this answer problematic? Because by very definition, what does God mean? God is infinite. God is beyond this world. I don't want to go into the whole philosophical aspect of it because it's not a philosophy class, but by very definition, infinitude also includes that there's nothing but Him. That's one of the things that Chassidus always discusses. And if I have the ability to influence Him, that says that I have a significant existence. So it's also a question, to a certain extent, it's also a question on, so to say, the infinitude of God. There's even a very important pasuk in this aspect, where Job says, Eov says, "In tzodakta matitan loy, v'rabu pshaecha matasa loy, uma miyot chayikach." It's a very simple verse, but it's very powerful. It says, "In tzodakta, if you are righteous, matitan loy, what could you give him? V'rabu pshaecha, and if your iniquities are multitude, matasa loy, what do you think you're doing to him? Umami yatcha yikach, and what could he take from his hands? Like, oh, you're giving charity. Like he everything belongs to him. Well, you're serious? Who are you fooling? So basically, Job says something that a lot of people have believed in throughout history. They said God is so great that there was even a philosophy like that Chassidus always quotes in the beginning of creation. People said, Ozav Hashem es haaretz. Once you understand the greatness of the Creator, so you understand, really, He cares if I benched, if I don't bench, what I wear. Well, is he? So sometimes, from trying to make God really great, basically say it can't be that God really cares. God really caring is a major contradiction with the whole idea of a God. On the other hand, if God doesn't care, like David says, so what's the point? What am I doing over here? If God doesn't care, okay, let's go home. Let's go to sleep. Some people are going home.
Some people like to sleep.
Yeah, some people like to sleep.
Oh, man.
So this is really a very, very important question. Does God really care? If He cares, it's a question of being a God. And if He doesn't care, good morning. People on the video might think that it's 8:45. They don't know that we just moved the clock. So right after class, we'll move the. Well, good point. It's confusing all the people.
we lost.
What's the time?
50.
We lost an hour.
We gained an hour. We slept another hour now.
Oh, great.
Extra rested.
You're meant to feel well rested now.
Yes, very good.
Okay, stay up.
You know, one of the things that we do when we wake up, we start making a calculation. Am I meant to feel tired now, or am I meant to feel rested? What do you feel? You feel rested, or you feel tired? So you just gained an hour.
Some states in America people like vetoed that whole thing, that whole concept.
Okay, so we started a series today discussing, does God really care or not? If he cares, how could he be a God? If he doesn't care, what's the whole point? That's a very important question. What we're going to do this week, we're going to take very deep concepts in Kabbalah and Chassidus, and we're going to try to explain it. And ultimately, we want to come up with the answer to this question, where the Alter Rebbe is going to introduce to us a formula that answers a lot of questions in Chassidus. And this whole formula is going to be based on one word in the Holy Zohar. Just shows the power how every word in the Zohar, if you're a tzaddik and if you know how to understand Zohar, one word in the Zohar gives away an unbelievable formula that explains so many things in Chassidus, and hopefully we'll try to take as many concepts in Chassidus and see how this formula works all across. And one of the major questions, which I think is something that we are interested in, is the idea, does God really care or not? But let's try to take this a tiny bit deeper. Is God really a part of the world, or is God beyond the world? It's pretty much the same question, like we said before. It's just like I'm taking it one step more abstract. Yeah, our first question was, before you came, we asked, does God really care or doesn't he care? Does he care if I bench with kavana or I don't bench? Does he care what I eat, where I look? So the simple answer was, sure he cares, but if he cares, he's not a God. God is beyond. God cannot be affected. That's one of the very ideas of God. And we quoted the pasuk in Job, where Job says, what could you give God? What could you take from God? What could you give God? What could you affect him with all your multitude of sins? And what could he take from your hands? Obviously, everything belongs to him. What could you donate to God? So, if we're going to take this one step further, a tiny bit more philosophical, is God found in the world or beyond the world? Again, from a very philosophical perspective, once you understand what a God means. So, Azav Hashem es haaretz. God left the world. The world is vacant from God. God is beyond the world. Then you have all these types of religious people, all different types of religion. To a certain extent, philosophers would scoff at them. It's like, really, do you think that this big God cares if you ate with brachas or without brachas? Like, really? Are you serious?
So yes, I guess the answer is both.
Oh.
He is found in this world and he's gone beyond it.
Oh. So this is exactly what we're going to say. This is exactly what we're trying to try to understand. The idea of what it means both. Obviously, Boaz is right that the answer is both. But what is the formula? And in order to understand this, I want to try to make this very, very practical. Since none of you have kids besides me. What? Okay.
No, sorry, I'm just having a good time.
In child rearing, I'm sorry, I want to say that since none of you have kids, so most probably you have a lot of good advice in child rearing. As the famous saying says, In the beginning, I had 10 theories and no children. Now I have 10 children and no theories left. Whereas my mashpia, Rabbi Deitch, says that no theory on child rearing ever worked. Every child, you need something else. It's not easy to raise kids. You just have to be a very real, non-pretentious person, and they pick up what you don't say, not what you say. But that's another. But really, I want to ask you, should I really care for my kids or shouldn't I care for my kids? Now, you must probably be wondering, like, what does this guy want? Should he care for his kids or not? Obviously, but it's not true. And I want to share a personal story that, not a personal story, like a personal, I'd say, something that happened to me over here in Yeshiva.
Occurrence.
What?
Occurrence?
Occurrence, like it's interesting. It's just an episode. I don't know. It's like in my head, I'm thinking of wording Yiddish, and I'm not
What do you
not
mean?
finding.
What's the Yiddish word?
Überlebenisch.
Yeah, translation.
So the it's like counsel guys, talk to guys, and once I spoke to a guy, and he started talking about his life. He was a very special guy. He's now somewhere. So and he said like this: one of the things that really bother me in life is my parents don't care. Like my father doesn't give a hoot. Like he constantly also says that. He says like when I was like 6 years old, maybe he's exaggerating, maybe not 6, maybe I'm in my head, I'm exaggerating the number. But when I was very young, he told me, son, do whatever you want. Do me a favor, like keep out of jail. I don't want to come visit you in jail. Then he tells me, maybe it was like in a joking way or not, but he tells me, I hope that I'm going to get religious. That will freak him out. You know, it's like he's a secular father's guy. I'm going to become religious. I'm going to gain some attention. The guy doesn't care. The guy doesn't care. Doesn't care. Doesn't care about me. And he breaks down crying. Okay. It's not the first time I hear that. Great. But that day was something very special. The next guy that I spoke to had exactly the opposite story. He came more from a religious family, more of a conservative family. He says, I can't stand it. My mother is all over me. Like where I come from, there's a expression, a joking expression that says, she thinks that she fought me in order to go to yeshiva. Now I thought, okay, I'm going to go to yeshiva. She's going to leave me alone. Instead of that, every day she calls me. Did you wake up for Chassidus? Did you go to Shachris? Oh, Mincha, Ma'ariv. She doesn't let me live. Let me live.
My dad just called me.
Oh, I want to check if you're.
I thought you were actually talking about my mom right now.
If you have Jewish moms, that's the beauty of Jewish moms. No, it's coming from a good place, definitely. But now your father's religious?
Yeah.
Oh.
Said, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have called you that name. But no, I said in class.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that your father's religious. Okay, so you all could. So we have over here some with religious fathers, some with non-religious fathers, and we understand. And the guy breaks down crying. So in the beginning, I thought we have a very simple idea. Maybe we should swap parents. The one that wants a caring parent will ship him over to that mother over there, and the one that is doesn't care will I'm sorry, the one that doesn't want a caring parent, or wants his mother to leave him alone, will ship him over. But obviously, everybody understands that that's absurd and it's not a good idea. Why? Because he too, when he'll feel completely abandoned and neglected, he'll feel very, very bad. And the first guy, if he will have a mother all over him, being like his helicopter, he'll also freak out. So I always ask students, so what is the formula? Should you care or you shouldn't care? So in order to save some time, I'll tell you that always the answer is that people answer, depends. The big thing is the small things. But I think that you'll all agree with me that is one of the major arguments. Is it a big thing or it's a bad? Is it a big thing or a small thing? Sometimes a father tells his daughter, "Excuse me, I saw you like hanging out with this drug addict." It's like, don't mix in. It's love. It's personal. Be nice. How do you know? Like he's discussing to the whole. He treats me so special. It's love. It's nothing so personal. What do you want to take away? The only time I feel loved. In every argument, you could have heard from a rabbi in South Africa. He said he saw a caricature of a girl buying clothes and telling the cashier over there, "Would you, if my mother likes it, could I return it?" Looks like you don't have sisters, do you?
I have two.
I have two sisters.
Well, it's not a.
Okay.
I just bought my sister a ring because I'm coming back for her birthday, and it was the first time I ever bought anyone jewelry. I'm like, this is unpleasant. I hate this.
It's very hard. It's very hard for me. Very hard. But send her. You want?
I sent my other sister. So.
Oh, okay, fine. As long as you have the other sister, they also know each other's taste.
But it also doesn't matter. If she says she doesn't like it, I'm not going to return and doing that again. That was hell. So she gets what she gets.
Okay, don't share this with your dad. It's a major aspect of life, getting jewelry. What are you talking about?
Training wheels.
Okay, after class, I'll tell you how to do it. There's a simple way of avoiding all the problems. But you still have to buy jewelry once a year. At least.
Personal Yom Kippur.
No, it says in halacha, by the way. It says in halacha before a holiday, you have to buy her either jewelry or a new clothes. Yeah, v'samachta b'chagecha. What? Rosh Chodesh? No. You're too from. No, it says that you have to make your family happy. So the Gemara says, how do you make your wives happy? Buy new jewelry or new clothes. Every Yom Tov to buy something new. It should give you a lot of parnasa. You should be able to buy. The Gemara says a person that respects his wife brings upon himself a lot of wealth. So all the blessings come through the wives. Okay, but we're going off topic, and this live video will get a million hits if I continue saying these things. So we want to keep it humble, like I say. It's like we want to keep it we want to keep it modest. Yeah. So going back. So what is really the formula? Should I care or shouldn't I care? It's like if I care, he feels suffocated. If I don't care, he feels neglected. Anyone over here with good advice? And good advice is not to give your parents advice. I don't know if that is so halachically permitted, like to give your parents advice. But for you, like you're going to do the same mistakes that your parents did to you. You'll do this to your kids. Usually, you do exactly the same thing.
I mean, I can only personally answer how I would approach it.
Okay, let's hear.
I don't know if this is the case for everyone, but
But so everybody try listening. Try to think. How would you feel in such a was such a great dad, like Lev.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like when the kid is younger, then it's up to the parent to kind of guide the kid along in their life and
Nice.
instruct them in everything.
And which
However,
then there's the cutoff age.
right.
So you say care till the age of 13 or 15, let's say.
Right, like
And from the age of 15.
right, and then
So
the
you're not really
change-
giving a formula of both, which is fine.
Oh no, I'm about to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I think when they're younger, it's important to be very hands-on in that way. But at the cutoff age, whether it's 15 or 20 or 18, whatever it is, then the parent should be more of an advisor in the big stages of life and being there to kind of help and navigate things, but still kind of step back a little bit. So I think it's the mix kind of comes from age.
So it's almost
Okay, so it's not really good morning,
It's not a
Rabbi.
mix at the same time, but
it's almost like going from instructor to critic.
No, I like your advice. I like the word you use, advisor. And I'm going to say, like, we're going to get there why I think this is a brilliant word to use over here, the word advisor. But
I think the
yeah, I just want to say what the problem I do have with this is that you're basically saying that there's two stages, and in every stage in life, again, Rabbi Deitch, my mashpia, usually shares a story with about in Yerushalayim. There's a big family called Gefner. The name of the family. He was an old guy. It's like he had like 12 or 13 children. I don't remember, maybe 14. And there was once a wedding in the family. His great grandchild. So one of his daughters came from Bnei Brak to Yerushalayim to the wedding. She by herself was already a bubby. She by herself already had grandchildren, and I think Rabbi Deitch saw him walking that daughter of his to the bus. So we're talking about a person that is already marrying off a great grandchild, walking one of his daughters to the bus. She by herself already a grandmother. And someone asks him, Rabbi Gefner, what's going on? Oh, well, that's so he says, yeah, in our generation, you always have to continue caring and giving love. Story that Rabbi Deitch always says, he says that in Tveria, I don't know if you're aware, over here in the beginning of the country, the beginning of the Independence War, there's a lot of frum kids that fried out. The place where over here was fighting for their existence. So a lot of people joined the Zionistic groups, mainly they joined the army or the underground. And in the underground, the focus wasn't so much on Yiddishkeit. It's like, unfortunately, a lot of people left Yiddishkeit those days. So in Tiberias, there was a Haredi community. There was a frum community in Tiberias that over there, the kids, all like from families, joined some underground group, and the parents were very upset. You could imagine. And there was a lot of friction over there between the parents and the kids. One year, the kids decided that they're going to teach they wanted like to cut the umbilical cord in order for the parents to let go of them. So they decided area. They're going to drive around over there, and all the parents are going to see, and finally they'll understand that their kids are already in a whole different place, and they're not into Judaism, they're not into Yom Kippur, and that's it. They'll leave them alone. There was one girl over there that didn't. She said, "No way, I can't do this to my parents." And everybody was making fun of her. It's like when you're a baby, like you need your mother's apron. What's
bib.
Yeah, you still need a bib. Really? Grow up? I said, no, I can't do it to my parents. So they kicked her out, and like this, she was saved. She afterwards built from family that keeps Torah mitzvahs, and then years later, someone asked her, how come? How come you couldn't do this to your parents and the other kids could do it? So she said like this, all the other kids that would come home every night, yeah, you can imagine boys and girls hanging out. Most probably they weren't just learning Kabbalah, they were especially those days, different types of patrolling and things like that. And they, every night, the kids would come home and the parents would get into a fight with them every night. She said, my father used to do different than all the other parents. Every night I would come home, 1:30, 2:30, 3, every night whenever I came home. It was, don't forget also, those days people were very poor. This country almost didn't have anything. He used to get out of bed and tell me in Yiddish, he would tell me, Tochter meine, my daughter, Večere, hast du schon gegessen? Večere is a word in Russian too, right? Supper, right?
Večere means evening.
Evening. So in that Russian dialect of Yiddish, supper is called Večere. So he said, Večere, hast du schon gegessen? You ate supper already? My daughter, did you eat supper? So instead of like criticizing her, she comes home 2:30, middle of the night. He says, my daughter, did you eat supper? And she would tell him no. So he would stand over there and said, okay, no problem. I'll give you a scrambled egg. So he would sit. She would sit by the table. He just got out of bed in the middle of the night, and he used to like put some eggs on a pan, and like making a scrambled egg. And she says that every time she heard the spoon scratching the bottom of the pan, her kishkis means her innards, her intestines would churn. And then when it came to the test, she just couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. What is this is a very powerful story, like that we want care from our parents at every stage in our lives. So kibbud avim, honoring parents goes even after they pass away. It's a very deep connection, and therefore I don't think that I would have an easy time to agree with Lev that at a certain age you stop caring. The question is how to care without being all over. How do you care without suffocating? So hopefully the formula that the Alter Rebbe is going to teach us this week, based on one word in the Holy Zohar, is going to help us get also a practical formula in child rearing. But the truth is, this is a question that goes across the board in so many aspects. In business even, they say that people that don't care about money lose their money. People that care too much about their money, they can't do business. I don't know how much experience you have in business, but it's a pretty famous thing in business that if you're like crazy about money, it's like it doesn't let you grow. What else? The same question is, are you meant to be involved in the world or not? It's not now a question. It's not a question about God. It's a question about us. Anyone that learned some Chassidus knows that on one hand, Chassidus is going to tell you, no, we're not escaping the world. It's not about sitting the whole day in kollel and not working. Obviously, if you're lucky enough, we have money, you should try to learn as much Torah as possible. But as a general rule, it's about being a part of the world and revealing godliness in the world. On the other hand, if you see a guy into his food, into physicality, what are we going to tell him? Listen, what's going on? You're over here in this world in order to be you should be a bit more spiritual. You should be a bit beyond the world. You shouldn't let the world affect you. So it seems like full of contradictions. It's like if you see a guy too much in the world, he's going to get it by the Farbrengen. It's going by the Farbrengen. What is the rabbi going to tell him by the Farbrengen? It's like, what is you pig? What are you? It's like you're into physicality. It's like on the other hand, if you see a guy that's not dressed normally, God has enough angels. What did God create people? God created people because He wants people to reveal godliness down here in this world. So what do we do with all these contradictions? And this leads us to the ultimate contradiction, which again, for simple people like us, it doesn't. We're not fazed by that because it's a bit beyond our pay grade. But this is what we're going to try to do over here in Chassidus. There's a world called Atzilus. And really what we're going to discuss over here is Atzilus really God or Atzilus is not God? This is going to be ultimately our mimer. I just want to say, you see over here in the mimer, in the beginning, it's on page 26 in the regular Torah Ohr, but in our booklet, it's page number 4. You see, it says, Shayach Lapasuk Erdona. In our weekly Parsha, there's something very interesting that happens. Sodom and Amorah, or in English, Sodom and Gomorrah. Actually, interesting. Why is it called Gomorrah?
Ayin is a guttural.
Ayin is guttural.
Yeah. It's a glottal stop. So glottal
It's like Aza and Gaza.
Yeah.
Right? Why did Jews say Aza? And the world says Gaza.
Please no.
Huh?
Because of the guttural sound.
Because the guttural sound, it becomes a J. Right? Every ayin becomes a J.
Yeah, that's my understanding. I mean, not every single time. Sometimes it's just a simple like Yaakov, Jacob.
Yeah. So you would say, would you say in English, Yagakov? It's a nice answer, but it's not the real answer. The real answer is that it's neither Aza or Gaza. The Arabs have a letter that's called a Ghain. It's like an ayin.
Right.
So sometimes it's either okay. It's like Abu Ghosh. Abu Ghosh is not Abu Ghosh. It's Abu Ghosh, but it doesn't matter. It's basically the ayin in the Torah sometimes is in the tradition they have two types of ayins. They really mess up. They're really terrible they're really terrible when it comes to hosting guests. And morally they're very immoral. And God decides, the Pasuk says, I will go down and I'll check. Are they really that bad? Erdana, I will go down. So Chassidus uses these words as a great opportunity to discuss what does it mean when God says, I'm going to go down? Isn't God in the world already? Is He beyond the world? Is He in the world? Which again, as we already know, Chassidus is based on Kabbalah. So we're going to discuss a concept in Kabbalah. Once we're really going to understand that concept in Kabbalah, hopefully we're going to talk about deep stuff, but that's why we're here. We're going to work together to really understand it well. And then, once we understand that, we'll be able to take it also into all of the other questions, also to the question, does God really care? Or the question, I know anyone that listened over here to Rabbi Manis Friedman's classes knows that this is his whole idea that God cares, but I once had an argument with him on this, and I think we agreed that when he says God cares, it's already on a certain level. But we're going to, it's actually something very interesting. Rabbi Manis Friedman says that outside of the Hasidic world, the always the expression is that God doesn't care. Torah mitzvahs is only for your own sake. But in Chassidus, it says God created the world for a reason, so He cares. So He needs you. God needs you. So it's a different type of relationship altogether. But I think that rightfully so. I'm not criticizing, God forbid. Rabbi Manis Friedman knows much more than me and is older than me and smarter than me. I'm not criticizing, but I think he oversimplifies it, and he's talking on a certain level. The reason why we had this argument is because I taught this class once to a group of students, and one of the girls over there was a big Rabbi Manis Friedman fan. So we were together once for a Shabbos. So she brought us both together, and she said, "Okay, I want to hear you argue this out, in order for me to make to get a clear decision." Okay, so. Decision, not a decision. We can have a resolution. So, well, what's the pshat? What's going on?
Pshat.
What's the pshat?
What's the translation of pshat?
Simple.
Pshat is the simple meaning or the simple explanation. Like when you learn a piece of Gemara, it says, "What's pshat in the Gemara?" How do you read? What?
Hebrew-ish.
It's Hebrew.
It's Hebrew.
Pshat, remez, drush, sod. Okay, well, what is Atzilus?
It's like the highest of the four worlds.
Oh, beautiful translation, definition, the highest of the four worlds.
It's where God and everything else is one, right?
Oh, God and His powers are one over there. True. It's beyond creation, the world of Atzilus. But first of all, maybe we need to explain, what does worlds mean? Who was in my house Thursday night? None of you, right? This week. Doesn't matter. You don't have to come. It's completely optional. It was great food this week, but you snooze, you lose.
Next week.
Like a few post high school kids came and they said they're hungry. My wife just took out all the leftovers. From the whole week.
Which one is that? So, this week as well?
Every Thursday we announce if there is an app.
Good Torah Club.
Yeah, it's a Likutei Torah Club, Thursday night. But it was a lot of fun. The Maimu was short, so we were able to finish early. The problem, I understand why it's hard for people to come over here, because usually it's the same Maimu that we do over here for the whole week. We do it over there for 2.5, 3 hours on Thursday night. So if you want to have a recap. So going back, so someone over there says, I don't get Chassidus. So basically I told him, listen, Chassidus is a different language. Once you pick up the language, you'll be able to understand. It's our task to translate into a different language. I basically told him that every science that you learn in your life is going to be a certain. It's a different. Every science has a different terminology, a different lingo, a different jargon. So one of the questions he asked, what does it mean, worlds? Where are the different worlds? So who could explain the concept of worlds in a very simple way?
Realities.
So what does it mean, realities? Unfortunately, because we're physical people, right away when we say the word worlds, we think about different globes. So where is the world of Atzilus? It means that when a Jew davens Shemoneh Esrei, he's in the world of Atzilus. So if David is davening Shemoneh Esrei, and I'm sitting and watching something on YouTube, so he's in the world of Atzilus. So where is the world of Atzilus? Is it up there, down here? And I think that the simple way of explaining it is that the word world used in you have, let's put a paper cup. Now we have 5 people over here looking at a paper cup. So let's say it's the first time we see a paper cup. So I look at a paper cup and I say, oh, that's amazing. I run a yeshiva. So instead of having a person constantly having to wash 40 shekels an hour, I'm going to get paper cups. It's a great idea. David is a business person, or what's your expertise? Tech. Okay, so David is a tech guy. He looks at this cup and he says, "Whoa, this guy is importing it from China. Oh, what a waste of time. I'm going to create a 3D printer that could just like put out as many cups you want." Not only that, he's actually thinking of an idea of you could put into the computer what type of drink you have. He'll give you the cup and the drink together within 15 seconds. Boaz, he's from Texas, so he believes in the ozone layer.
Couldn't elaborate much on that topic.
So he's all upset. These cups, we have to start protesting against these cups. Cups are going to fill the landfills with waste. Ezra has a lot of kids, and he's thinking, oh, if I get these cups, my wife will get a to throw it out. Lev is a big businessman. He says, "How much do you pay for this cup?" 20 agurot. I could get it for a half agura in China. We're going to import it. Now, why did we all look at this cup from a different angle? Because we live in different worlds. That's why there are magazines called Fashion World, Business World, PC World. Exactly.
It's perspective, like outlook.
I want to try to explain this because this is so simple on one hand. On the other hand, everybody like hears Kabbalistic concepts, worlds, they freak out. When we ask a simple question, what did God create? What do you mean? He created the world. So what is the first thing that comes to mind? He created the mountains, the trees, the heaven, the earth, right? Why is this simplistic and to a certain extent a bit juvenile?
He created the whole universe.
He created everything. But again, you said the word universe. What's my issue with that? And again, we grew up believing in God, so we have a certain way, a very simple way of looking at things. But what's happening with emotions? He created emotions too. What happens with intellect? Intellect was also created by God. So, for example, there's a concept floating around called 1 + 1 = 2. A brilliant concept. Oh, we think that it's very simple. No, some people, it's simple because we know it. Where is 1 + 1 = 2? Is it New York, Jerusalem, Sydney, Australia, New Zealand? Where is it? It's everywhere. It's in the world of intellect. So two people could be looking at the same thing and they're looking from a different world. So when we're saying that God created the world, he didn't only create, we're physical people. So the first thing that we think about is about a physical table, a physical world, the rivers, the oceans, the heaven and the earth and the trees. But God also created the world of intellect. God also created the world of emotions. These are deeper worlds than just the physical world as we know it. So when we're saying that there's different worlds, so when I am emotional, I am now in the world of emotions. When I'm intellectual, I'm in the world of Bria. Bria is intellectual. Now you're going, so what is the meaning of the world of Tzilos? So in order to understand, so till now, I'm sorry, I skipped right away to the next step of our class. But right now, we just explained the idea of world. So there's the world, the lowest world is the world of action, the physicality. A higher world is the world of Yetzirah, which is emotions. Then there's a higher level called Bria, which is the world of intellect. So we could be both talking to each other. He's going to come from intellectual perspective. I'm going to come from an emotional perspective. I'm in the world of Yetzirah. He's in the world of Bria. Obviously, we're talking in spirituality and relationship to God, different angels. We can't cover everything in one class, but the general idea of worlds is different realities, different perspectives, and everything that you guys said is true. I just wanted to show that simply Chassidus, you just have to learn how to translate it into simple language, and it completely makes sense. It's just it's a science for itself. That's why it has its own terminology lexicon and jargon. What is the world of Atzilus? The world of Atzilus is God. But God, the way we know him from this world. Let me try to explain this. In order to understand this, we need to understand the difference between a philosopher and a Kabbalist. Which, by the way, the difference between a philosopher and a Kabbalist is a fascinating topic, because throughout history, there's always the people that are more prone to Kabbalah and people that are more prone to philosophy. To a certain extent, we could say there's the difference between right-brain people versus left-brain people. People that are more analytic are more philosophical. People that are more creative are more Kabbalistic. And these are two separate schools of thought that clash a lot of times. It's a whole different perspective. The Vilna Gaon says that where does Kabbalah start? Where philosophy ends. He was a big philosopher and a big Kabbalist. And he says, where does Kabbalah start? Where philosophy ends. That's a very interesting, nice expression by the Vilna Gaon. But the Ramchal, Reb Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, wrote a whole book called Choiker HaMakubal. A, so to say, conversation. He made it up. He was a very prolific person, the Ramchal. He made up a conversation, but it's a fascinating conversation, so to say, between the two parts in us. There's a part in us. But that's already my interpretation. I'm sorry. I don't want to mix my interpretation. He wrote a book, Choiker HaMakubal. It's a whole conversation, so to say, between the philosopher and the Kabbalist, between the soul and the body of the person. What is the major difference between the two? Who could help me describe the major difference between the philosopher and the Kabbalist? I just want to give one short answer because I just realized, even though here it got stuck. On time to 8. That's what happens when you change in the middle of class. It's already 8:30. I don't want to go over time. I just want to give like a short version of the answer, and tomorrow we're going to go. It's a fascinating conversation to understand the difference between right brain and left brain. I once heard from a Kabbalist that you could see the difference in a baby. Some babies love water. Some babies scream in water. So water is more connected to the right brain. So if you want to know if you're more right brain or left brain, originally ask your mother if you loved taking baths or not. You know, some people sing in the shower. They can't help it. You know, are you aware? Some people sing in the shower.
Never heard of that.
Never heard of that? Some people just can't help it. They go into the shower and start singing. It's like, wow, they're having they get inspired. It's two different types of people. Some people, like I remember when I was a child, I loved watching fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, you love
No,
watching.
I don't. I was always afraid of it. But I see like people here just like the kids here are arsonists.
How do you call people love fire?
Arsonists.
Not arsonists.
Oh, sorry.
Arsonists is
Pyromaniacs.
Pyromaniacs.
Sorry. So,
What's an arsonist then?
arsonist is a guy who likes to set things on fire. Finally.
That's what they say now in the news, that Qatar is the one giving all the money to Hamas, and now they're making peace, trying to help us with hostages. Instead, in Washington, they say that Qatar is the arsonist and the firefighter. They have so much money, they don't have what to do with the money, so they opened Al Jazeera. So they fund the biggest funders of terrorism, and now they're the saviors. But going back to our conversation between the Kabbalists, and again, this is fascinating, I want you to think about it. The difference between a philosopher and a Kabbalist is the philosopher comes from the bottom up. The Kabbalist comes from top down. What does that mean? To be continued tomorrow. Let's try to be on time, everyone. Like this, we have. It's like David is leaving us in 2 days, so it's most probably tomorrow is going to be your ultimate class. When are you flying?
1 a.m. on Tuesday. So
Monday night, tomorrow
Monday
night.
yeah.
Our plane's open.
We have to.
Fully.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
There's a
No, we'll make sure to finish the class with a question that you wouldn't be able to leave. Have a beautiful day, everyone. How do I stop this? What does uchte mean?